Welcome back to episode 50. I'm here with Jesse. Jesse is a little bit under the weather today, so I don't know how much he'll be talking. But we are also joined by Chris Weatherman, the Angry American. Chris.
Howdy.
Jesse, are you going to be able to make it through today?
Yeah, I can hold out as long as the cough drop will let me.
Okay, great. All right, Chris, I know we already covered this, but since we're doing this one for posterity, how are you doing down there? What's the recovery looking like for you?
Like I said, we're all right. We lost power for about 4 days, but we ran a 15 kW generator 24/7 for that time period. And aside from the expense of running that thirsty beast that burned about 35 gallons of gas a day, we were fine. There's still about, I think, earlier on the news, it's around 75,000 people without power in the state. And it's humorous to me because now what the news is focusing on is how pissed everybody is that their power's not back on yet. They're blaming the power companies, and to some degree, some of it is on them. But it's like they don't realize that a major hurricane just came through here. It shows you too how fragile people are. That they go a week without power and they're losing their minds and stomping their feet on camera for the news guys. But I was ready for however long it took. I was just like, well, when it comes back on, it comes back on. We got lucky. 4 days it came back on.
Now, I know on your Facebook Live you said that a lot of I won't say a lot, but too many, because any or too many, were trying to run their generators indoors down there. Are these people that ran out at the last minute, got the generators, had no clue, or these people that just ignored the obvious warnings and said, whatever?
Well, it's no doubt ignorance was a big part of it for some folks, stupidity on others, and for others it was they were worried somebody was going to steal it. That was why they would run it in their house, because they were afraid somebody would steal it. And sadly, for a lot of those folks, it cost them their life. I mean, I just can't imagine that in 2017, we have people that would still put a combustion engine in their house and run it. I don't even understand how you could do that.
Now, I know you had your solar backup, your solar trailer ready to go. You got it deployed. And how much are you able to run off of that thing now?
Well, I actually never ran anything off of it because I deployed it the day the power came back on. I went out there, got it all set up, got it going, and that afternoon, blink, the power came back on. But my plan for that thing was to get it set up and get it operational and to run it at night so that I would run the generator during the day because that's when the load demand was heaviest. And then at night, say about 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, I would go out, kill my generator, connect this trailer up to the house, and then be able to power the refrigerators and freezers, fans, and even a portable AC unit. And my unit's plenty big enough to run all of that overnight. It would have done it with no problem.
Well, I would say it did its job excellent, that if you started it up, you were able to get a full service to your house. I have a generator I passed around after the tornado here that it ran about 3 hours every location. They turned the power on right after we hooked it up, so I took credit for it.
Yeah, so everybody wanted that thing. Bring it to my house next, right?
I love that thing just because of that. Now, what did you... I mean, we saw all the normal things with the hurricane. We saw the people cleaning out the shelves, doing all this. What do you see as the most common issue? People staying too long, people just getting overexcited and running out unprepared? Or how are you looking at it down there as far as your common rank and file person you may have to deal with?
Well, a lot of people sit around and wait until they're told to get ready. And then that causes panic, and then that causes panic buying. And so, yeah, fuel, cars are lined up at gas stations. After the storm, there were fist fights at gas stations when they would come up with gas. I mean, there'd be fist fights for people fighting over the pumps. No kind of organization or order. People would come into the gas station from every possible angle and then fight over the spots of the pump instead of trying to organize themselves and say, we'll come in from this side and go out that side. There was none of that. It was every man for himself mentality is what it looked like. And in the beginning, and the buying too, water evaporated, bottled water did, which I didn't buy a single bottle of water. I have running water in my house, so I don't need bottled water. And, people run out and buy bottled. I don't understand that. Most of them live in cities, municipalities. They're on municipal water, which generally doesn't go out, especially during a hurricane. Water generally doesn't go out. And if you're that worried about water, you can go to Home Depot and buy a couple 5-gallon buckets for like $3 and fill those, and you've got 10 gallons of water for a fraction of the cost. But everybody, it's just ingrained in them, the bottled water, bottled water, bottled. I mean, whoever got that mantra going for the bottled water companies, that was a good ad guy, that pulled that off for them.
That's probably just reflective of how ill-prepared the mentality is for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Because like I said, people sit around and wait until they're told that you better do something, and then you get your 3 days worth of food, and the news tells them what to go buy in a lot of cases, and that's what they go buy. Like I said, I think we made one trip to the store for like a 12-pack of Coca-Cola or something. We didn't have to go buy anything. I had my fuel ahead of time. I started the hurricane with well over 100 gallons. That was a new generator to me. I hadn't run it as heavily as I did for the hurricane, so I didn't know what fuel consumption was going to be. It was a lot more than I anticipated, but I still managed. I was still able to get fuel, and I still have fuel, and I've got tanks coming now. I've ordered 280-gallon tanks to be delivered to my house that will be full, that I won't be doing that again.
Now, did I understand right that at one point you did board the house up and go somewhere else? Because we did a show 2 or 3 back on what we're talking about, overcome by events, where no matter what your plans are, you must adjust. Did you find yourself in a situation like that you needed to rethink your bug in?
Yeah, I mean, we live in a manufactured home, mobile home, whatever you want to call it. It was hauled in here and set in place. So, and it was, we bought this with it here. It's not like I bought this thing new, but it is good construction. It's 2x6 construction and stuff. But a Cat 4 hurricane that was rolling ashore is not something I wanted to experiment with the house taken. So, like you said, we have to adjust our plan. My plan is never to leave my house, but at the same time, I'm not going to die in this thing if I can avoid it. So, yeah, we boarded it up, and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, we left and went to my buddy's office, which is very secure, and we stayed with them. He had his wife and his mother there, and we all just hung out. And he had a backup generator. He's an insurance agent, and so he's got a real secure office. And we just hung out till the storm was over. About 7:30 Monday morning, I guess it was, I left there to go check out the house, and there was no damage here to my place, other than like the underpinning was blown out in a couple spots, but that was it.
Now, I know you were, as we already covered, you said you didn't actually end up using your solar trailer. I find that an interesting setup that you have, because I believe in Florida it sounds like you have a similar law that we have here in Missouri, that even if you have solar panels, when the electricity goes off, you're still going to lose electricity because they're into the grid, not into a backup unit.
Correct. And well, I need to read the exact law, but I thought there was a caveat to it that said without battery storage that they will disconnect. So maybe if you have battery storage, your system will stay up. The utility companies did it to screw people over. Really, that's why they did it. Because they charge you, if you put solar panels on your house, you have to get an application through the utility company. You've got to pay them like $400. Then they will put a meter on your house that'll read your solar output and credit that against your bill. But then you also, I think, get charged a maintenance fee for like line maintenance. Since you're adding to their line now, you're going to help pay for that as well, which is stupid. I mean, what's the difference in sending it in or taking it out? It's just another way for them to make money. And so to get around all the issues and to ensure that my solar system that I wanted didn't get caught up in their bureaucracy, I just made it a standalone portable system. That, and if I ever go anywhere, I just want to be able to take it with me. even if it's like a bug out, like I'm leaving here and I'm not coming back, I can take that thing with me and I'll have all the power I need.
Now, Jesse knows more about this than I, because he's got a large system in his house. But I believe, Jesse, unless I'm wrong, in Missouri, it is you have to be on the grid. So it turns out if you've ever, is it 1 kilowatt hour?
Well,
or 1 kilowatt.
If you draw on 1 watt of power,
1 watt, okay,
then that particular utility company basically owns your butt. But the inverters themselves have what's called a non-islanding feature inside of them, which basically they're not going to invert the power that comes in from the solar panels unless they can sense that there's grid power, which is why you take that into account whenever you influence the wiring diagram.
Yeah, and that's actually how mine works as well. I have a solar edge inverter that the panels connect to. So it's DC in to the solar edge. But the solar edge won't function unless it sees 240 volts coming into it. So the Sonnen system that I have has an outback inside of it and the batteries. It generates 240 volts and sends it out. Those two meet at a utility panel, which sounds counterintuitive to an electrician, that you're doing these two separate 240 volt sources into the same panel. But it works. That's how this thing functions. The Sonnen will sense whether it needs charge or not. And when it needs charge, it will sync up the frequency with the solar edge, take the power in. When it doesn't need charged, it will change frequency. It'll shift the frequency, and that power will stop going into the Sonnen. And any load that I have in that panel will then be carried by the panels that are outside, the solar panels. And if it's not enough, then the Sonnen will shift again, add power to the system, and provide whatever power I need in addition to the panel draw.
Yeah. You were saying about the load on it then?
Well, it's not as much the load, but the input on that it has to sense that there's what it considers to be a grid input, that 240 that Chris is talking about there. Mine is typically set up to be my automatic on-demand propane generator that kicks on, and it counts as a line voltage. But with a 1,000-gallon propane tank, if we're talking about a completely austere situation, I don't want to be burning up all of my propane on that.
Just keep the line hot?
Just to basically generate a signal, because it's not drawing on that 240, it's just sensing it. So that's why you have your battery backup that runs through your 240 inverter that goes into a priority system, and you can I really don't want to give too much away, but I can get the system to trick itself. In a fully austere situation, I can run full power during the day, and since my system is twice the size of what my house actually needs, just due to the solar radiation that we have here in Missouri, and at night runs on the priority system.
What's how many watts worth of panels are you running? Whoa, that's a lot.
I have the largest residential solar array in the state of Missouri, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, my system, I run 3,000 to 3,500 watts on it. That's it. That's all I need.
But that's a supplemental thing. I have a lot of.
He's got about 123 people that live at his house,
and
yeah,
I have a lot of people that I have to take care of that have.
But he doesn't have to.
My mother's ailing. And
now she you do, but
yes,
a lot of them are just people that wander in off the street.
Yeah, well, I have two small children that I want to know are fully taken care of. I've got a lot of freezers and fridges. I mean, I can step the system down if I need to, but it's a lot easier to step a system down than it is to.
Oh, yeah, much easier, much easier.
So yeah, he's got a big one, but like I said, he's got a lot of.
Skippy, I do.
He's solar panel.
Oh,
yeah, solar panel. Solar panel, ego, forehead.
Yeah, the forehead runs all the way to the back of the neck. Name of the thing.
And I got to mention a little bit of a little off topic here. He was very relieved to see that you're still in possession of the beard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my that was a good friend of mine, Tex. He thought that was hilarious, and that was his little joke he played there.
Well, earlier I was looking through your some of your videos from Alone, from the TV show Alone, and and you showed some of your family pictures. We could kind of see it. You went from barefaced to a goatee to a little bit of scruff, and now it's all grown out. And I just had one question after looking through all these pictures.
What's that?
How come you keep getting older and uglier, and your wife keeps getting younger and prettier?
I know she is. She's always complaining about birthdays and aging and stuff. I'm like, why? You're doing it well. Don't worry about it. You're doing it very well.
Dude, you're carrying the burden for her, apparently.
Yes, I am.
I decided before this call today that the reason, you guys with your manly beards, some of us are just manly enough we don't need the beard. We just generate it outward without the...
You don't believe any of this, do you, Chris?
No. We all know better than that.
Hey, I'll challenge all of you on... let me get a couple Zimas down, and we'll see who's manly.
It's his delusion. We'll let him live it.
Yeah, let him down a couple of Zimas. You're going to be so happy when they bring back Bartles and James.
I was going to say, he has no beard, and he's talking about drinking Zimas. It's just going down, farther down the hole here.
Yeah, no, not Bartles and James, but Seagram's. You remember
I never had one of those.
Yeah, when Bruce Willis was singing the Seagram's Golden Wine Coolers commercials.
I've never had one of those.
You could put on a wife beater and sing badly just like he did.
Yeah. I don't own a wife beater. They
make them in your size. It's cool.
All my T-shirts have sleeves. So, anyways,
Money trail.
Yep, there we go. But I did want to talk about this also because I know there's some people out there that are. I don't know how I missed it, but I did the reschedule of your shooting event from November to February. What's the story going on with that right now?
Well, I got a couple things I've been working on. One of them we're supposed to have announced Monday. We're kind of in a holding pattern. We had some technical issues that had to get resolved that were out of our hands. We fixed that now. So I'm getting ready to announce one of them here pretty quick. It's going to be a really nice resource for everybody. And the other one we're still working on. A wildfire in California threw a monkey wrench into that, and finally that's under control, and hopefully we'll have that ball rolling again here pretty quick. So it's just every time you try to do something, there's a million and one ways it can go wrong, and it usually finds them.
We know nothing about technical difficulties here.
No.
The gremlins just kind of kicked us right in the dink today.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're probably getting tired of being asked this question too, but how's the TV show coming?
Well, that's one of the things I'm working on. I can't really announce it. I kind of mentioned it already. I'll say it again here, but one of the cast members of The Walking Dead is reading my books right now. He's seen the script to my pilot. He really liked it, and he asked for a set of the books, so I sent him a set of books. And then there was a wildfire, which forced him to leave his house, which put everything on hold for a little bit. But he's back home now, and hopefully we'll be talking next week is what I'm hoping for, to see what he's thinking. It just happened kind of accidentally that we come across each other, but it's hopefully something's going to work really well out of this here. If it goes the way I'm planning it to go and what I'm working on now.
All right.
Well, good luck with that. That's a whole different breed of person when you start dealing with the Hollywood system.
Yeah, it is. And I've dealt with a bunch of them. I mean, I've turned down several offers for options on it. Because everybody just wants to, they want to buy an option. They want to give me a check and them have all the rights. And that's not how I want to do this. I tell everybody who I talk to, this is going to be a partnership kind of a deal. I know the way the story needs to be done. I don't know how to make TV or movies, but I know the way it needs to be done. And if we work together, this can be as big as The Walking Dead or bigger, because The Walking Dead is popular, but not everybody's into zombies. But everybody's into that end of the world scenario. So I think this will appeal to even more people. It'll appeal to the zombie folks, and it'll appeal to obviously the non-zombie folks.
I'm in the non-zombie category. My wife is a big Walking Dead fan. I've seen the pilot and overheard more of it than I'm really interested in. Just not my thing. Nothing against it, just not my thing.
Yeah, I watched the first season, but I didn't watch another one after that. So I don't know what happened with the story.
Well, I mean, they went that way with TV before. There was Jericho was an interesting attempt at it, except for the fact of, growing up in Kansas, I know for a fact you cannot see the mountains from anywhere in Kansas. So, it was. I liked it, and it continued on in the comic book form for a little while. So, if hopefully you can get some traction like that underneath of you and really take off, I'd love to see it, and I hope we get if you do it, I hope we get an invite to the set once or twice to,
Yeah, well, I'm hoping it happens. I mean, I want to see it done the right way. That's the thing to me. I want it true to the books and done the right way. That's what's important to me.
I know I spoke with, I don't know if anyone else knows who the author of Ender's Game is, Orson Scott Card, but he optioned for years. He entertained but they kept wanting to come in, like you say, and take control, get it, and then kind of run with it. And of course, they wanted to take it and change it from kids in battle school to teenagers falling in love in battle school. And that's what they always do. I mean, I could just see him taking mine and introducing some kind of a damn teenage romance BS into it. That's not what this is about. And I don't want, when this comes out, for it to say based on the Going Home series. I don't want it or adapted from. I want it to be that it is the Going Home series. That's what we're putting it to video is all. Well, in my opinion, one of the biggest cautionary tales out there on that is Starship Troopers. The difference between Heinlein's book and the movie are 180 degrees.
Yeah,
it's a travesty, but thankfully, I think he was already passed away when they did that to it.
Well, that and production quality too. Starship Troopers is a good example of production quality. So.
Yeah, it was. It could have been so much more, but
yeah, they put so much into the CGI and whatever they paid Doogie Howser to be on that one. That they didn't really put a whole lot into direction or casting people that actually act.
Yep.
So with the thought on this of being kind of and I know we got onto the books and all that, but being a debrief of after Irma, is there anything you can look back on now and say, I really should have focused a little bit more on blank, or did everything work out pretty much the way you foresaw it?
The only problem we had, well, there were two. One was the leaving home. That didn't go as smooth as I wanted it to. I had all three of my daughters here, because one of them doesn't live here. But had everybody come home, and then when we were left, that didn't go as smoothly as I wanted it to go. So we're making some changes on that, because while my plan is to never bug out, as we know, overtaken by circumstances, you may have to bug out. So we've modified that a little bit. The second thing was my fuel storage. I wasn't happy with that at all, and I've got the fix for that going too. But for me, that was it. I had everything in place. I'd picked up spare chainsaw chains and bar oil and had gas for those. I had oil filters and oil on hand for my generator, Things people don't think about. Generators, they're not designed, these portables aren't designed to run 24/7 for days upon days upon days. And, I shut mine down at 50 hours and change the oil, which on that Generac, I got to give those guys credit. It is a breeze to do. They made it so easy. And when you buy one of those, they even give you a spare oil filter. So the first oil change is on them, kind of. But for me, that was it. Obviously there's cleanup ongoing still at my place too. Just lots and lots of limbs down. 5 acres of oak trees gives plenty of stuff to fall. So we've got a huge pile that we're going to burn here soon, and then we'll have another huge pile to burn probably. The one thing I hadn't thought of that happened after the storm, that's happened in the last few days, was an explosion in mosquitoes. Obviously, it makes sense. Just standing water everywhere right now, but they're like a biblical plague at the moment. My poor dogs outside are just being eaten alive, and we're doing stuff trying to treat them and get them some relief. I'm having to spray my cows because they're out there running around trying to get away from them. And you people, if you go outside, even in the bright sunlight, they're just all over you. There's so many of them.
How long did it take for that biblical plague of mosquitoes to kick in?
Well, let's see. We noticed it probably 2 days ago. So right at a week, right at I'd say 7 days or so. Yeah, right at 7 days was what it took for that to really ratchet up to a, oh my God point,
Right,
I mean, it's so bad that if you go out to get in the cars, by the time you open the doors, get in and shut the door, there'll be 100 of them in your car. I mean, you'll have to put the windows down, drive fast, and try to blow them out. I mean, it's that bad. Yeah. Scary.
A true Missouri redneck would be equipped for that with a bug zapper in the car.
Yeah, yeah, hanging from the dome light.
I don't know about Florida, but
and those ones that look like tennis rackets that zap the crap out of them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're thick. It's really not something I had considered, but yeah, they're pretty thick.
Yeah. On a little side topic, I just found out the other day that a little town to our west, over in Kansas, little bitty town, claims to be the place the fly swatter was invented. I just can't believe.
Is that a desperate stab at a claim to fame?
I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine. To me, it's like a hamburger. You just can't tell me that's the first time anybody said, I need something to hit this fly with. So, I'll believe it, because that's all the little town of Weir, Kansas has. But I don't believe that, in the 1900s, the first time somebody said, give me a stick and a flat thing, I'm going to kill this fly.
I mean, at least the Egyptians used they used the horsetail thing. And,
yeah. So, but anyways, like I said, the bug zapper in the car made me think about that. That we were that close to history and we didn't know it.
Yeah, that close to history.
Wow. So, all right, we have to ask. I know you get inundated with it. What's the plan on the next book? What are we looking for? What kind of are we?
Well, I'm working on it.
Well, I guess I should phrase: is the next book the Going Home series, or are you going to be doing another in the Cry Havoc? Or
oh no, the next book is book 9, and then there'll also be a spinoff that comes out right around the same time, the one that's taking place out in Wyoming. If you remember, Morgan talks to a guy in Wyoming one night on the ham radio, and we're going to be telling that guy's story. So we're going to be introducing that character Reed and what, because people out west, Wyoming, Montana, parts of Colorado that aren't too liberal, they think differently.
Except for Denver and Boulder, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but they think differently and handle things differently than like we would down here in Florida. They have different issues. They have different resources. So we're delving into that. The main character Reed is he's a rancher, so he's got to deal with how to keep his cattle alive.
Mm-hmm.
And think of the millions upon millions of cattle that would die in that event, with no way to feed them, no way to harvest them and transport it. It would just be a massive die-off and waste of resource. You'll have people in other parts of the country starving to death, and you'd have people out west eating beef, 3 times a day, as much as their bellies could hold, because it would be so plentiful for a while. But eventually that would start to go away. And then those ranches that did manage to hang on to their herds or parts of their herds are going to have a problem defending them. So they have a number of different things that they need to deal with. Plus they have coal mines out there. They may not have trees in eastern Wyoming, but they've got coal mines. So that was one of the jokes I've always made with my buddy, because I've lived in eastern Wyoming before, and there's no trees. I mean, you've got to go from like Gillette area to get into any substantial stands of trees. You've got to go about 80 miles. Maybe 50. That's a long ass way to go if you don't have transportation, or if you're doing it with a horse and wagon to get firewood, well, 12 miles away there's a coal mine.
Well, and if you got cattle, you've got a fire source, according to my grandparents.
Oh, you absolutely do. Yeah, absolutely. It's still done in Africa. They go out and collect the dried cow patties, then they mix them with a little water, make it into a paste, which they then pat out into cakes, and then in a lot of places they slap it on the side of the well, because in Africa the wells are concrete above ground, and they'll stick it right to the side of it to let it dry, and then that flat thing is firewood, for lack of a better word. That's what they cook their food on.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of my grandmothers was actually born in a sod house that's now on display in a museum in Oklahoma. So I got to hear stories about this, of burning that and eating this, and
see, when I was a kid, I thought every kid grew up whenever the coal mine would strike. My dad we'd load the family up to his '55 Army Dodge pickup truck, and we go out on the conservation land, well, what became conservation land, and pick up buffalo chips and stay in wiki-ups. I mean, otherwise known as a debris shelter, but these were a lot more comfortable than a debris shelter. But, we stayed in wiki-ups on the lake out there, going down old logging roads, and I thought everybody ate watermelon that was chilled in the creek, and I thought everybody had to hunker down while their dad went out and ran bears off with a switch. And
with a switch.
My dad was at the time was only like 6'1", but he was, he was a coal miner. I mean, he had arms the size of my legs. He was a bear of a human being himself, and so a little black bear didn't stand a chance with him with a switch.
Or you.
Yeah. I only got that a couple of times. I'll tell you what, when he wanted to get a point across, he could get a point across.
Oh, yeah. When I was young, the arm of justice was swift and long.
It was, but when we were talking about using the cow chips, I mean, I thought everybody cooked their food over buffalo chips. When I see everybody going out, we're going camping, I was like, what's the tent for? No.
Yeah. That's glamping.
Yeah, you had an electric stove.
We had an electric stove, deep freezes, things like that.
See, my dad would.
We lived in the 20th century.
my dad would take the Coleman stove when we'd go fishing. When we were only going to be gone for the day or overnight. But when we were going out on a 2-week-long strike, we'd go out and live in the wiki-ups and not. I mean, because it was great.
Well, now I have to tell you about the hard times when I was growing up, when I had to drive the tractor without the cab. That was a bad day when I was growing up.
I'm the first person in my family to ever own a tractor, and it doesn't have a cab.
Be out there. I love driving at night because those tractors got good radios. You can DX on those radios. You get in a Kansas field, hit the DX button. You can
because there's nothing in the way of the signal.
Yeah, that's what's wonderful about it.
You could use light listeners.
He's a Kansas hater. I love Kansas. He's a Kansas hater.
No, I just like contours.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's whenever I drive out west, driving through Kansas or God forbid Nebraska, it's just like driving across a pool table covered in goose shit. I mean,
y'all are haters. I've been to Florida. It ain't exactly mountainous down there, so.
No, but you can't see more than a couple hundred yards in any direction. I kind of like that.
Oh, I hate that. We have that here. Trees everywhere. I was in Wichita this weekend.
You would have loved Iraq.
I was in Wichita this weekend. I watched thunderheads come in for 3 hours. And 3 hours, and it still never rained on us. They all just came in, went to the north. I got some fantastic video of lightning, and that's what I like.
After spending some time in Kansas, after crisscrossing Kansas, I don't know how many times, I want to know one thing. In the story of the Wizard of Oz, how the hell did that tornado sneak up on anybody?
Well, they just drop out of the sky sometimes.
I mean, unless
there's got to be something overhead for it to drop out of.
Well, you got to
sit there and watch a thunderhead for 3 friggin' hours.
But you got to remember, we're outside doing it. When the sirens goes off, that's just the government's way of saying it's time to go out and see what's happening. We we don't hunker down. We go out and look for it. So
yeah, because you get plenty of warning.
Anyway, guy lives on top of a hill. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Anyways. See, I don't need to do... We have this other podcast now, the Geek Podcast, where I get death threats. I really don't need to do that one. I've got this right here if I want to, have somebody, badmouth me.
It's so much fun.
I'm always happy to come help.
Well, I'll tell you...
Yeah, I've definitely... I mean, you may have spent more one-on-one time in front of the camera with Chris, but we got the beard now.
So. We have the beard, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's just
like Jeep.
If I was born,
understand.
If I was born with one leg, would you guys kick me like that too?
No, I did. No, I would just kind of give you a little push.
Well, anyhow.
Spray some Pam on the floor.
For those of you that are on the video, we talk about the other podcast. This is our new little mascot because this is the guy who likes to send me death threats for not liking his TV show. Not his, just the TV show he watches.
Yes.
He uses a frog for his avatar, so we just like to squeeze it every once in a while to remember that guy.
Plus the frog is a fairly good trigger for the left these days.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah.
We're thinking about maybe going that route. I don't know. I think we need to. I think we need to name our mascot. Are we going to call it Jello Fanny?
Well, there's Jello. We had about 4 names. We all a play on that.
Silly Panny,
Silly Pannies, Jello Fanny. Yeah, it's a work in progress. But of course, the bad thing is, I know Chris, you talked about starting up a web a podcast. That particular one that got us all the hate mail just got blocked for having 20 seconds too much of a TV show in it.
Yeah,
they pulled us, and we lost 25 cents in viewer revenue by them doing that. So
25 cents, big money maker, big money maker.
Which, in comparison, was a lot.
Yeah,
it beat the previous 7 cents.
Yeah.
Wow.
But speaking of which, we do have a new backer now. I don't know if he wants to be anonymous or not, so I'll wait till next week to name him off. But we've now got a $25 a month back pledge on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
We really appreciate that. And if you do the podcast, Chris, and you're interested, Patreon is out there. They can all look it up, J2cast on there. And if you want to keep the podcast going and support us a little bit, we have different levels. And if you do $100 a month, Chris, this is for you. If you do $100 a month, you get to come here. Now, the travel that's out of your pocket.
Yeah.
But you come here and you get to rub Jesse's head, and we'll buy pizza and beer. That's for $100 a month. And you get to do that every month for the $100 a month. So
that's a deal.
Yeah, that's not a one-time deal. That is a real deal of every time. So definitely check out patreon.com. Look up J2cast, and we appreciate anybody out there that wants to help us out. Chris, I would tell you to go there because I get a kickback if you join. So I'm going to be blunt with you. This is totally capitalistic selfishness on my part.
Patreon?
Yeah.
You get a kickback?
Yeah, if you start up an account and you name me as the person, or name us as the people who referred you, then we get a kickback from Patreon for bringing me on board. So,
okay,
yeah, totally self-centered. It's the way I roll. I'm capitalist to the core,
and we have no.
You'll have that.
And well, I mean that's why we're offering people to. I don't spend $100 a month, so I don't actually get to rub his head. So, but it's definitely something you might want to look at. And I know you've told me you're working on that. We wish you the best of luck on that. We've got the shoot coming up in February. We've got now you've told us when. Do you have an estimate on when the new book will be out?
I told you, it'd be a lie.
Okay.
So no, I don't. I'm still working on it. It's every time I set up a hard target date, I'll miss it. So I've just given up on doing that. It's something will happen, something will come up, and I'll miss it. And I don't like disappointing people, so I'd rather just keep them impatiently waiting as opposed to being disappointed.
What about a working title?
I have a couple that I'm bouncing around. It's funny the way the titles come to me. That they always come to me as I'm writing the book. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to my wife about this just the other night. That a couple of things popped into my head, and then I started toying with those as I was working on it. And I'm narrowing the list down, but it's not there yet. So the one set in Wyoming, though, we do have a title for that, and it's called Western Resolve. So that'll be the other one, the spinoff that's coming.
Yeah, so sounds like an old Western my dad would probably watch.
Well, it's gonna get pretty Western, you know. I mean, there's cattle rustling and lynchings, and plus dealing with local governments that are of a liberal mindset in a very conservative area, and the things that they will attempt that will go over like a turd in the punch bowl, you know, with the locals, and how that balance of power will eventually work out. So it's pretty interesting.
Socialism versus sovereignty sort of thing?
Pretty much, you know. I mean, you know, you consider too out west, the BLM's a big issue, you know, and federal land and
land management, not the other BLM.
Yes.
Yeah, the Bureau of Land Management, not that BLM. I'm talking about the Fed BLM.
I've been doing
too many acronyms running around.
Yeah. It's like looking into a bowl of alphabet soup.
Fortunately, snafu still means the same, but
it does.
I was looking into potentially, you know, maybe buying some land in Colorado, but what's the point of buying land in Colorado if you can't even pee out there without the BLM's approval?
Yeah, and you know, and any water that lands on it doesn't belong to you, and you know, the whole 9 yards. It's
they put a meter on your well, so you have to. I mean, you don't have your water rights.
Easy for you to say.
No, you gotta drill the well, you gotta install the pump and maintain it, and then you gotta pay for the privilege of using it.
Thank God we're free.
Yeah, if you can afford it.
Yeah, I'm waiting on a big libertarian move from the state of Texas, and then I might relocate to somewhere down there.
Well, you know, I like Texas. You know, I like the fact that they don't have building codes. A lot of people don't like that. You know, I like that in Texas, as long as you're outside of the city limits of, you know, Houston or Austin or any of them other idiot cities, you can pretty much build whatever the hell you want in any fashion you want. There's no one around to tell you nothing otherwise. I like that. You know, there's no inspections. I think you go to the hardware store or something and you buy a permit, but there's like no inspections. There's just, hey, I'm going to build something. Everybody's like, okay, you know, and you go build it. I just
love a lot of the things about some of the weather down there, the solar radiation, and I've seen some really beautiful farmland. Once, you know, wife and I got a little sidetracked and lost, but it was. But got to see some beautiful stuff. Fortunately, I didn't have anyone shoot at me when I peed in their driveway. Long driveway. It was nature called. I didn't have much of a choice. I wasn't doing it in my wife's new car, and so. But everything else, yeah, it was great. I mean, it was just beautiful down there.
So the Reader's Digest version of this is: you went, you got lost, it was pretty, and you peed.
And I'm waiting. I'm waiting on either state level in Texas or on a federal level for one change. And if that happens, yeah, I'll liquidate everything I've got here, pack up my solar panels, and head south.
I could do that. I'd have to be up in the hill country, though. I don't think I can handle that southern Texas desert crap.
No. I was, believe it or not, I was born and spent the early part of my life in Southern California. But, you know, come from the land of fruits and nuts, but obviously I didn't fit. And
so you're paying the penance now with the hair thing. Yeah. That's your penance for having been born in California.
It's Fukushima. Yeah. Yeah.
Fukushima.
No, it's
Drink the water. Eat the fish.
Well, I mean, seriously, whenever I was a kid, I lived only about 60 miles from L.A., and when the smog would just build up and the barometric pressure would change, the smog would just pour over like a wave through the Cajon Pass, and it would just smog out the area where we lived in the high desert. And my dad's hair, which was silver at the time, it turned green like he was trying to look like the flipping Joker from from the smog.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
So hence why we packed up our crap and moved to Missouri. And
yeah, I don't know why anybody. I mean, it does have some of the most beautiful country in the country. Land. There's some beautiful places there, but like you said, it is the land of fruits and nuts. And the new rage in California of the glow in the dark sushi bars, where the sushi glows in the dark, it just kind of puts me off.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I kept kind of going back towards Texas, because there's a lot of things that I like about California, mainly the growing season, that's still available in Texas without so much crazy. But a lot of the whining and crazy in Texas is kind of replaced by the woo. But I think I could learn to deal with that a little bit. But as long as I got into some hill country and my wife was within a reasonable driving distance of the coast, I think I could become a Texan.
You live in Missouri now. That's not reasonable driving distance to the coast.
No, it's her wish and want. She's a tropical people.
Oh wow, she's been suffering, huh?
Yeah. When I take her to Jamaica, it's like, whenever you catch that fish and you're taking pictures of it, and you put it back in the water, and it's so happy. Yeah, that's what my wife looks like when she steps off the airplane in Jamaica.
Come to Florida.
No, I was in Florida last November, and I don't like driving in Florida. I own property in Ocala, and I think I'm gonna sell it now.
How much land do you have in Ocala?
A lot at the Rainbow Lakes Estates that I inherited from my grandmother.
Yeah, I'd get rid of that. Where is it again?
The Rainbow Lakes Estates, just outside of Ocala.
Yeah, I know where it's at. Yeah,
it's just a little bit north of you.
Sounds like the kind of place. Sounds like the kind of place that Jason would visit in the next Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Camp Crystal Lake is.
Yeah.
Well, I like Florida, so I'll take his place.
There was a lot of things I did like about Florida. What I didn't like was every mile and a half getting shaken down for another $1 by the damn toll booths.
But we don't have state income tax.
I guess I drove the wrong area of Florida. I drove from Orlando all the way up to St. Augustine and back down and around, and I don't remember a toll booth one.
Well, trying to get to the out there where the cruise ships were in
Canaveral.
Yeah, Canaveral.
Yeah, see, the only thing that stopped me in Canaveral was the very nice Air Force SP with the very large gun that told me I was at the wrong entrance.
Yes, you were at Cape Canaveral, not at Port Canaveral.
Yeah, you shouldn't have went over that bridge, because we used to fish over there, and now they've closed it all. You can't fish over there. And when my grandfather was still alive, they were just building the submarine base in Canaveral, and they had it constructed. There were no subs in there yet, and I was over there with him one day, and we were flounder fishing, and the naval security came out in his boat, and because we were inside the basin, and he's like, "Damn it, James!" He goes, "If I've told you once, I've told you 100 times you can't fish in here." That was just my grandfather. He's like, "It's the best flounder fishing in the damn port. Oh, there ain't nothing in here." Just giving this guy hell. He's like, "You come in here again, I'm gonna take you to jail."
Just trying to catch a sub.
We're no subs. We wanted some slabs. We didn't subs. Hell, we wanted slabs. I mean, but he didn't care. If there's a sub there, he'd have bounced a trout tot right off the damn side of it. The old man didn't care. He was a hoot.
Well, I like it down there. I'm not a big fan of Miami.
No.
But otherwise, I like it down there. I'm trying to get my wife convinced to take a road trip and drive through the Keys, but she doesn't like bridges, so she's fighting me on it.
Well, there's not much of a point to go down there now. I've got a buddy that owns a house down there that I've stayed in several times, and it's on Big Pine Key, which was just annihilated. But he got some photos. His house is still standing, and some of the ones around his are gone. And so they're heading down in the morning, taking a bunch of relief stuff to donate and to check out the house and do any kind of emergency roofing repair that may need done. But from the satellite shots that came out, the roof's still on it. Everything looks good. I know he lost his back porch screen. I mean, that's kind of crappy to say that's all he lost on his house. So a lot of people down there went and lost their houses, but he did lose his screen and part of his rail off his back deck. But we think that's all he lost. So he came out pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, anybody that can, you don't want anyone to lose everything or even a lot. Everyone who can come through it and. All they got to replace the screen is a good day, I'd say.
Yeah, he did real well. So I was happy for him because it's a nice house.
Well, Chris, I appreciate you coming on here. We're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to also apologize to everyone who tried to listen to us live, and we got into that infinite loop thing that we had to break off and go into just this. But we're going to get this back. We're going to get this up on the feed, and Chris, I'll give you I'll put a link on I'll tag you on Facebook with a link to this. As usual, it was great hearing from you. Anything you got coming up, please let us know, and we'll definitely try to pass it along.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I had to cancel some stuff. I had to cancel Prepper Camp because of the hurricane, and I canceled Denver, partially because of the hurricane and partially because of other reasons. But it amazes me what people expect out of you sometimes. But yeah, right now there's no real plans. I might be at there's a Prepper Expo in Jacksonville in December. I'll probably be at that. But right now it's the only thing I got on my plate.
Well, we would definitely, if my schedule clears up, which is 50-50, I'm going to definitely try to be out in there in February. But if I have to go make money instead, then I have to go make money. But it's one of the... until a big pile of cash falls out of the sky onto me, I've got to do that. So, but I encourage anyone who can to definitely take a look at it. Sounds like a great time. Especially, are you going to have Franklin and Steve and everybody out there too still in February?
Yeah, that's still the plan. Get Franklin and Steve to come out. There's some other folks going to come. Probably Alan Kay. There's some of the bushcraft community will be there too. Guys like Native Kirk will be there. Josh and. Some other folks. So we're going to have some classes. We'll have some training opportunities on everything from pistol to long range shooting to medical stuff to just a good time. Some sitting around the big bonfire in the evening shooting the breeze. We'll have Franklin and Steve there, and I'm wanting to have a sound system set up so that everybody can hear. We'll get up there and talk and shoot the breeze and let people ask questions, tell stories, whatever they want to do. I just want to make it fun. Just get out and hang out with folks, really, and shoot some shit. I mean, that's part of the reason to do it. Got to do that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely It's always a good time in my book. So I appreciate that. Definitely looking forward to the next book. We'll just wait for it to be a happy surprise when it and the spinoff drops.
Well, I'll once it gets closer and I can give a relative idea, I'll start putting it out there. But I don't do pre-orders like a lot of the authors. They try to put them up for pre-order to pump the number because they're all looking for a rank on Amazon that I don't care about. I watch my book for the first couple days when they drop to see what they do on Amazon, and after that I don't even pay attention to it. I don't care. The only thing I do look at are reviews. So if you've read the books, go review the books because that does really help. Because Amazon recently has pulled about 4,000 reviews out of my books.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why. A guy sent me an email the other day. He noticed his review on Amazon was gone. He tried to review it again, and Amazon denied it. Said he sent me the email, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but they denied his review. They wouldn't let him review the book. So Don't know what that's about. I'm trying to get a hold of somebody inside of Amazon so I can find out what the hell is going on, where my reviews are going, because I don't think it's fair. So I think part of it is if they think or if they discover you have a connection on like Facebook or something, then they consider that a friend and they take them down. Well, that's how we network. That's how we market. That's what we do. That's how we interact with fans. We use Facebook. We use social media. And so that's a really stupid metric to hold us to, that if they like your page on Facebook, they can't review now. That's just wrong in my opinion.
I had no idea about that, but yeah, that's of course you're dealing with Amazon's the new Walmart. It's getting to be a behemoth that just is going to run roughshod off everybody it wants to.
Well, I mean, I got to admit, I love Amazon. I truly do. They
take advantage of it, but I can also see where there's a downside to it.
Yeah, they support me. I mean, that's where the 90% of my income comes from is from Amazon, and probably 70% of it goes back. So, we love Amazon. I mean, I ordered stuff today. I ordered a bunch of solar parts. I'm just reconfiguring the way my panels are connected, so I ordered a bunch of parts today. I ordered a 75-foot Ethernet cable so that I can connect my Sonin system to my router in the house so that the guys in California can remote in and check some settings. So Amazon's awesome. Anything you want, you just click. A lot of it you can have the next day. So I love the company, and I love most of what they're doing. There's some stuff they're doing that I'm not crazy about. I'm not real crazy about Bezos. I'm not a fan of him, but I do like the company and the service that they provide. But they're certainly changing the way we as Americans shop and get things. But everything's changing. One thing we didn't mention, I know we're running over, but I want to mention this.
No, go ahead.
One thing we didn't talk about in the after-action report from the hurricane was information. That was one of my big takeaways, too. When we lost power, we came home. There was no power. I fired up the generator, got power on. Internet and TV were up. So I didn't sleep all the night before, so I sat and watched the news for a little while, and then I went and took a nap. I got up about 2 in the afternoon. The internet was out. And the internet was out for 3 days. So we didn't have TV because ours works off the internet. We didn't have internet, obviously no communications there. And the cell towers went down. So there was no data links. You couldn't look up nothing on your phone. You could barely send a text. You couldn't receive a phone call. So to a modern person who's used to that 24-hour constant connection to anything you want to know, whatever, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff where I get a lot of my info from that I then dig deeper into, all that was gone. Nothing. There was a total info blackout for us. And we had to resort to AM radio, FM radio. And that was the only source of information we have. Fortunately, we do have a local station that is just all news all the time, and it was kind of able to fill some of that hole. But they're so focused on local events, they didn't talk about international stuff, which was bugging me because I follow a lot of it. But everybody does need to keep an AM, FM radio in their kit for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I actually have one that I keep in my kit. I believe it was it your book that doesn't he have one in the? Well, doesn't Morgan have one of the first book as he's? Yep. It's an AM, FM shortwave.
Yep.
Yeah.
From countycom.com.
Yeah, and I actually got. I picked up one of those after reading the book, and I really enjoy it. Of course, you got to be careful in my yard now because I've got shortwave antennas run around, and they'll get you right about your eye level.
Yeah, last Halloween you about hung your oldest son and his girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, and an AM FM if you add shortwave to it, now you're picking up international bands and stuff. Ham radio obviously is useful. But I took all my antennas down prior to the storm, and I put my HF antenna back up today. Actually, I put it up yesterday, but I had some issues with it, and I got it up and running today. I was playing with the radio. I put my VHF antenna back up a few days ago to get that functioning again. But in the immediate aftermath, number one, I didn't need outside communication. There's no one I needed to reach out to, so I wasn't worried about them. But I had my handhelds, and I was listening to some stuff on those. But ham's very important, especially if it's a long-term situation, and if the cell phones never came back, that would have been a pretty valuable resource in that it would have been the only way to get outside information. Because, the radios can be shut down too.
Yeah.
Ham radio can't be.
Right.
As long as you can turn it on, you'll hear something. You scan around, you'll find it.
That's what we covered on our last week's show, wasn't it?
Yeah, number 49 was on communications. I was pushing that, especially as reasonable as you can get some of these Baofangs. Not the greatest radio, and you want to probably upgrade the antenna on it, but for just in a pinch, I know I mentioned on that show that I took one of the Baofangs, fully charged I've also got a Yaesu, but that I use every day, but took one of the Baofangs, fully charged it, took the battery off, took the antenna off, put them in a foil bag, put that in an ammo can in the back of my truck, and I went about 9 months through winter and summer. Pulled that thing out, and I still had 85% power on the battery. So there for a $25 to $30 radio. There's a lot of it's not expensive to be able to throw in there and have it a pinch.
Yeah, it's like everything. When there is no power, a little power goes a long way. When there is no money, a little money goes a long way. When there is no communication, a little communication goes a long way. Being able to get somebody else. I took my handheld. I use Hytera's, and I took my handheld out in the front yard the other day, and I've got a little J-pole antenna that collapses into it's just a wire antenna. Rolls up and goes in a little case I keep in my pack. And I took it out and strung it up my tree the other day, and I was able to pick up one of my local repeaters and talk around. And then I talked to my buddy, Simplex, on it. And he's probably, 12 miles away or so. But that doesn't sound like far, but here in Florida, with our tree cover and stuff like that, that's reaching out pretty good on a 5-watt radio. So I was pretty impressed with the performance of that little antenna.
Yeah. Well, I hit that. I know before we got to rolling, I told you we tested out a tower about 23 miles away on a 4-watt handheld. Was able to hit that from on top of a hill. Down here we got a lot of hills and a lot of very solid terrains. But you get up high and you'd be amazed how far you can get. And by doing that, I was able to talk to a friend of mine who lives an hour and a half away from me, and that was no centralization. That was just us to each other. We didn't have to depend on the phone company. We didn't have to depend on satellites. We didn't have to depend on servers. It was just all on us.
In my truck, I have a mobile rig, a Hytera as well, and I hit a tower in Anthony, Florida, when I was in southern Georgia, and I was talking to some guys on the radio, and then one of the admins for the tower came over, and he asked where I was, and I told him, and he came back, and he said, "You're 122 miles away from us right now."
What's the height? And this is on your mobile rig?
That's on my mobile rig, 25 watts. But it was throwing it 122 miles. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that is. We have a guy here, about 50 miles, maybe not quite 50, north of here that hits on on our local repeater. But his antenna is 150 feet in the air, so he just hits everything sounding crystal clear. It's beautiful.
We have a repeater here that I monitor from home. I monitor my truck. It's 800 feet tall,
nice,
I think, and so anywhere in Central Florida, I can hit that tower just about. So
we've got some like that. Like the one we tested is on top of a grain elevator, so it was quite a ways up there. This guy's tower was just his home tower at 150 feet, so I was pretty impressed because my wife won't let me do things like that. So she won't let me put up a big antenna, and she wouldn't. When I had my Jaguar, I couldn't put one on the Jaguar either. She
Yeah, my wife's not too happy because I strung that 160-foot dipole out across the yard earlier and staked it out, and it's off of a fiberglass stick that I've secured to the side of the house, and it's up about 25 feet, and then there's 160 feet of wire spread across the yard. And there's a birthday party for my youngest daughter this weekend, and she's like, "That will not be there." I'm like, "Yes, dear, I know."
Hang streamers from it.
Yeah, balloons.
Make it festive.
Multiple multi-use.
A little bit, she has the same birthday I do. She was born on September 22nd, and that's my birthday, and so she's having a big party. But I'm going to go do a Go Ruck event in St. Augustine Friday night. It's going to be Friday night to Saturday at 9 a.m. And it's an urban survival Go Ruck event that I'm going to go participate in. So for my birthday.
St. Augustine, I love that town. So that's nice.
Oh, I love St. Augustine. Yeah, that's a great place.
I'd love to see St. Augustine so I can raise my approval of the state of Florida.
Oh, really? It's St. Augustine. It's nice because they've kept the hotels and all can only be so high. They can't do like they did do it in Miami and Daytona.
Yeah.
And plus, the old Spanish fort there is amazing to go in and take a look at.
Oh yeah. I like the Hilton in St. Augustine because it's right on the bay there and right by the fort, and you can walk out the back gate of the whole hotel and you're in Old Town just immediately, just right there. And so we spent several anniversaries in there.
Now,
sounds like fun.
From a survival point of view, actually St. Augustine is a very interesting town to go to, especially if you go to the oldest house they claim in America. And they've got that water bowl made out of volcanic rock that the water seeps through and clean. They put just water in it, and then it seeps through, and when it comes out, it's clean on the bottom. So it's things like that you can find that someday may be useful again.
Oh, that's those old ways that we're losing that, they're good to know, good to catch on. Like here, you can make one of those out of lime rock or coquina. If you found a big enough piece, you can make one out of coquina stone or a big chunk of limestone. Do the same thing. Now, if you're prone to kidney stones, you may not want to do that out of lime rock because some folks it can really tear them up. So.
Yeah. Well, and now for those of you out there who are, we're talking about the old things, we do have a show a few back. If you haven't caught it yet, we got together with a local medieval reenactor, and we went through making pemmican. And so if you haven't done that, and I ate it too. We made some one day at a camp. We actually made it out in the camp over a fire and all that. And then a few days later, we cooked it and ate it. And it was very good, actually. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So
Jeff ate it without having to drown it in hand sanitizer first.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show how much trust I had in the person making it. I think
we'll go ahead and just send the flattery, Kevin's way on that.
But so anybody out there, if have ever heard of it and kind of wondered, I was amazed at how simple it was, and you're going to be able to keep for minimum months to maximum years. So if you're in an austere situation, it's something you can put together and not have to worry about refrigeration, not have to worry about, where am I going to keep this, how am I going to keep it, and it's actually pretty tasty when you add some stuff to it.
Yeah, I make biltong, which is a form of jerky, but it's just the simplest method of preservation. Cut meat into strips and hang it in the air. You do treat it with vinegar, but you don't even have to do that. But I make it the traditional way, treat it with vinegar, and then put salt on it and crushed pepper. And in Africa, where this comes from, they put the pepper on to keep the flies away. But then you simply hang it up and leave it for weeks.
Well, one of your books, actually, that's a pretty sizable plot device in one of them. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was.
It was in 8, and it comes back around in 9 where they're messing. Yeah,
I guess 6, but I guess I need to reread a couple of them and get my before the new one comes out. So I'm back.
I might need to reread some more of them. But he made some in 8 again, and then it comes back around a little bit in 9. But some things happen in 9. For those, I'll give this away about book 9. Book 9 is a more upbeat book.
Well, I'm going to assume then that you resurrect that great guy Jeff. You guys.
There's so many people that like Jeff.
I don't know. I just know that if there's a Jeff in the books, the guy's going to die. He's like a red shirt. But you did keep him around for a few books.
That was never the intention for Jeff, but it's a harsh world and shit happens, you never know. There's some things coming for some of the folks in the story that's going to. There's some more hard times coming. I mean, there's some real disaster befalls some folks. That's going to be unpleasant. But it's just the world you live in.
Are we looking? Am I asking too much to say? Are we looking at a greater Russian presence in 9?
I don't know if I'd say greater. They're certainly still there. They're trying to be dealt with, but the hardest thing is finding the bastards. Florida's a big place, and then they got their little lackeys, the Cubans, with them, and there's a bunch of those guys running around as well. Which some of that's kind of funny the way it happens. And then there's another character too in book 9 that's resurrected from past books that people are gonna be like, what? I wonder what happened to him. And he comes back around, and there's an interesting exchange for a little while between him and a couple of the guys. But there's some unique things that happen. So
good. Well, I'm looking forward to them both. I know. Unfortunately, they take a bit longer to write than they do to read. So
sadly, yes, they do. If it's every day I work and I'll look down at that word count when I get done, and I'll be like, is that it? Is that all? Because I'm trying to crank them out, and it just takes so much time.
Yeah.
So,
well, definitely looking forward to it. Once again, thank you for helping us out with this 50th podcast, and we want to hear back from you soon, and want to hear what you're up to and where you're going and what we can take part in, because we need to hear that. We don't got a lot going on here in Missouri, so we need.
Well, anytime. Thanks for having me on, guys. Always fun to talk with you guys. Nice to see you both together for a change. He does exist. I'm impressed.
Well, unfortunately, the last time he was in Brooklyn when we did this, so he was in basically his equivalent of Hell on Earth.
I was in the Bronx.
Oh, the Bronx.
It's not his equivalent of Hell on Earth. It is. I've been there.
It was a very unique section of the Bronx, but it was okay because it was where it was the Jamaican section.
Yeah, Jamaican, yeah.
Well, and I was there with a Jamaican friend, and I speak Jamaican patois, and so that went well. But
really,
but basically a couple of feet or a couple blocks in any direction, I was out of the nice, friendly Jamaican section and into the guess what, boy, you're the wrong color section. And then my navigator took too long to tell me left turn. I made a right turn, and next thing I know, I'm in the Puerto Rican section, and they made it quite clear that we were in the wrong place. And I tell you what, I was never so happy to get the hell back across that George Washington Bridge.
Well, I've got a picture of my fat head on a billboard in the East Village that I took. Yeah, I was on a billboard there when I was up there doing stuff for a loan. But right there in the East Village, there was a billboard that had my big old fat head on it. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Was it a book advertisement, or?
No, it was for a loan. When I was up there doing stuff for the History Channel, they had billboards all over the place. So I had to take a picture of that. So they were every. We were walking around town. Me, Lucas Miller, and Alan Kay were walking around town, and every time we'd find one, and somebody else was with us too. But every time we'd find one, we'd stop in front of it and make a bunch of goofy poses and point and laugh and take pictures and talk smack about everybody that was on the poster. So, or the billboard. There were posters or bill. It was kind of weird to see that, but it was. We had fun with it. So,
yeah, they don't bother putting that stuff up around here. They just flyover country. We don't get none of the pretty pictures of you guys.
Or just flyovers and deplorables here.
Well, there were no pretty pictures, so you didn't miss nothing.
Real quick before we go, I got to ask: did the squirrels go with you when you left, or did you leave them or did they get to stay at the house and write it out at home?
Oh no, the squirrels went with us. The squirrels have taken over the master bathroom. There's a
jungle gym in there for them now. I was in there working on it again today. She's got the two, Pedro and Clyde, who get along fantastically. And I don't go in there when they're in there because that's not safe for me. But Mel's got a video that she'll be putting on Facebook soon of Clyde running around in a red cowboy hat. It's actually hilarious. He's got this little red cowboy hat on his head, and he's terrassing around. But
Is it just dogs and squirrels, or is it all animals that attack you?
Oh no, it's Clyde for sure, and then lots of dogs. We had nothing else bothers me. My cow runs for me because I roped her a couple times, even though she's a hell of a lot bigger than me now, and I wouldn't dare rope her at the moment. Our goat we had would rise up, or Billy, he would rise up on his back legs, buck people. I solved that. He did it to me once. I caught him by the horns. I kicked him in his bollocks. I flipped him on the ground and sat on him, and we had a long conversation about that. He never did it to me again. Little bit cured him with a 2x4. He never did it to her after that. But yeah, Mel, there's always some creature being brought here that's just going to give me hell. So it's just part of my life. It's my penance, I guess.
Well, tell Mel thank you for letting us dominate your evening here. And
she was happy I wasn't bothering her.
It took a lot of control not to cough until this point.
And I want to say a early happy birthday to you then.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Like I said, always good to come on and talk with you guys. I enjoyed it. And anytime you want to do it again, let me know. I'll be happy to come on, man.
We definitely will. You have a good evening, and we will be getting. We'll get you a link on this, and we'll get back to you soon.
Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
Good evening, man.
Later.
Once again, thanks, Chris, for helping us out there. Great way to celebrate our 50th show. As always, you can email Jesse
at J2cast.com.
Jeff at J2cast.com. Our phone number, 417-553-3716. Call us up, leave a message. We may use it on the podcast. Also, find us on Facebook there. And, of course, if you want to support the show, patreon.com. Go in there, look for J2cast, and we'll definitely appreciate your support. Jesse, thank you for 50 great shows. I thought they were great.
Little rough at the very beginning, but learning process. I can't wait for the next 50.
It's going to be fun. So definitely thanks for sticking with us, and we will see you next time.
Be safe. God bless.